How far down the rabbit hole are you prepared to go? The apocalypse, and we are living in it. We are living in it. And this phenomenal artist may have got a few things wrong, because I guess a lot of people think robots in terms of some kind of alien thing rather than a man-made cybernetic infusion of nature and machine. The date, of course, is a little off because it's 2020 and the ship is still sinking. The ship is still sinking. The mask of the beast is becoming a normal part of life for so many people. What this says is subjugation. It says control. It says I don't think for myself. I have others think for me. Religious teachers, priests, imams, rabbis, scientists, the other big religion, they do all the theory, thinking and hypothesize about all the stuff out there and all the little things that we aren't. But sure, you know, when this hammer drops, I think a lot of people will survive. I don't think this is a kind of mass mud flooding plasma event. I think it's more subtle than that, and I think the smart cities are designed to keep those that are wearing the mask of the beast, to keep them entertained and energized such that they continue to contribute to the system, whether that be that they're fighting the machine or just fighting their phobias. Now, I'm offering another way. Like this dude, there's a lot of open country. There's a lot of open space that is crying out for good men and women to tend it, to be solid husbands and wives of the land, love the land, nurture it, make the most of it. Because this is our birthright. This is our birthright. Not the mask of the beast, of the robot apocalypse. Go back to nature yourself now. Over the next few months, perhaps even years, it's time for us to, maybe decades, but it's really harder and harder, I suspect, for people to break away the more that they've been cuckolded by the mask business. Oh, there's some folks over there just outdoors, family, all wearing masks. Children, a little girl in a pink shirt, wearing some kind of Disney style mask. It's just horrendous to see, but it is what it is, and I respect those who feel the need to stand their ground within the system and challenge this insanity. I am so tempted, like I've even got a speech in my head, you know, that I would give it Trafalgar Square on Speaker's Corner. It feels a little futile because my energy is only so much, and if I don't put 100% of my energy into nature, back into nature, then it is going to be very difficult to be successful and independent once more, as in divinely intended, sovereign, living, alive in the world, not dependent on the machine, whether it be for my fears or my fights. Nature loves us, we go out there, we nurture it, she gives us vast abundance. I don't mean in the cowspiracy Netflix way of seeing farming and so on, of course not. Permaculture, natural ways of farming, you know, reasonable methods and reasonable levels of, you know, need and greed, so managing all of that. To be doing so in an honorable way, an honest way, a way that supports my family and those around me. I think that's one of the options. I know that's one of the options. But the choice is yours. You give away your authority. When you vote, you give away your authority. When you demean yourself by asking those in power, or the so-called power, to give you some more privileges. Find land, you know, settle some roots, and let go of the Netflix, the TV, the need for it being controlled, to be told. Good luck, friends. See you on the other side. Not bad. Even these creatures could teach us a lot about love, community support. Let's go. 20 Maple Road in Penge. I lived here once. It's a long story, but this neighborhood has some interesting architecture. Now, this is a subject that a lot of folks find distasteful. Apparently, I've been accused of showing a lack of integrity to even delve into this topic. The topic, my friends, is of course the curious issue of the mud flood, or the settling, the covering that seems to leave our cities at various times in history. Seems to leave our cities and even our towns and villages sometimes under mud, clay, silt. And so it leaves in its wake buildings that are submerged somewhat, sometimes many feet under the ground. You find 1, 2 or 3 floors even into the ground. There are a plethora of excuses offered by those who don't want to consider the complexity of the ramifications of, if that's true, that 100 years or 200 years, perhaps 300 in some places or longer in other areas, there have been these inundations, these events that have perhaps caused mass loss of life, but certainly left behind in their wake sometimes magnificent buildings. Generally seems to be of an epoch prior to, or with skills that we don't have now. But perhaps the stepping down, the older stuff tends to be the grandest, the Acropolis and all these sorts of things. Perhaps Göbekli Tepe is the same, but older, but bigger and under a deeper pile of mud or material or whatever. So I have this new theory that I'm going to offer out it may have been floated by the lads in the flat earth mud flood research community. I haven't been following closely with their progress, but I'll show you a couple of examples around here, just in a fairly average suburban region about 10-12 miles from the center of London, where a lot of the regular excuses given by folks for this strange architecture or curious architecture is to do with, oh, they didn't want to build too high, or they wanted to build these cellars for pubs or coal or slaves or servants or whatever, kitchens, you know. So but you know, a lot of those excuses apply, or those rationales really refer more to, sorry, it's very noisy here. I'm just on a regular street. As I said, I lived down here for a while. I'm right near Crystal Palace, which is a very well-known epicenter of Darwinism. You know, Darwin lived not far from here, and the Crystal Palace Park was used as the setting for the world's first large dinosaur display. And of course, many researchers will know that the Crystal Palace Tower, which was allegedly part of the World Fair, a magnificent structure, glass and steel, was dismantled piece by piece from Hyde Park after a year there, brought to Crystal Palace, and then it mysteriously burned down. All glass and metal just burned down, the little twin towers like them. So yeah, it's another one of the mystery areas, and it sort of brings me to the point, or to my theory. I'll show you some houses. So many examples of this kind of inconsistency. I do apologize for the wind, but going downstairs like this into the lower part of a property, we're in a very average, maybe it was a little bit more upmarket around Annerley and Crystal Palace back in the day, but this is very average. And of course, the shop has the usual coverings for what would have been once upon a time window, or those glass boxes to allow some light into the lower floors. They've abandoned that idea here, obviously. There's, you know, quite a lot of that. If I walk up the street just a few paces, I can be sure that, well, if I walk down this alley, I haven't tried it, but if I walk down there, I'd be able to find evidence of the lower floors beneath the ground, beneath the street. It would be illogical to build like this, with this tiny window in here. Why not just say to everybody, hey, we're all building at the same time. If the issue is skyscape, everyone just needs to build 4 stories up, not 3 stories up, and then you won't have to go to all that trouble of keeping the water out of your basement, because we haven't yet invented non-permeable barriers. Oh, this is a building attached to a train line bridge, and I am going to offer to you that this whole building was once at least a story lower, probably more. This was a window, I suspect. Anyway, so yeah, across the bridge on the other side there's a similar out of use establishment. We can't manage to keep these things going. Oh look, the building does all go all the way down there, but it's easy to argue that that was simply to find a footing, a foundation. But I would build if I had to, build a foundation and then a square building on that, not one which is going to be forced to have that. For example, Let's see what we can see. Yeah, I mean, I think the detritus and dirt that's sort of gathered here is really just remnants of various activities. Obviously the brush here doesn't count, that's all recent. This wall here is light in color, the brick is light in color, that should come through. That's definitely a hole that was filled, and it appears to go all the way down into the detritus. Surprise, surprise. So what we got there? So I am keeping you mud guys, the mud flood researchers. I hope some of you are still listening, because I think this is an interesting theory I don't want to bomb you with. Give me a second. I'm just having a look at that other view of this building. Okay, so that's the bridge we just crossed. That was the first one I looked at, and you'll notice right away that there's obviously, you know, it's obviously used downstairs. I would have the hazard that that building goes another floor deeper. You know, I can't be sure, but I would think, see, that this was the original, possibly the original lay of the land, and they, after the events, they cut back the tracks, they cleaned them out, because this is vital infrastructure. So these get cleaned out, but the buildings around them are recovered as much as is feasible. And if there is a third floor or a low floor to that which you can see now, it would be, well, quite obvious and practically impossible. I think that a lot of lower floors, sometimes the basement, sometimes the floor below the basement, all of that gets washed away, gets flooded somehow and never gets recovered. Now I can see some interesting things here. I'm just going to climb me up a little. A sec. Alright, I'm up just above the track now. See? Alright, so what do we got? Any evidence of coverage? I mean, this was obviously a window ledge, and therefore this has been bricked in. The crackage quite visible, quite easy to see. I'm more interested to see if I can see any kind of evidence of, well, there's some, that's a stump, that's no good. See, this would appear to be your No, take that back. I think that, well, if I can't be sure. I mean, these are huge openings that have been covered, and perhaps one they might have been advertising hoardings at once upon a time, but there's something hidden behind all of that. So I can't be sure where the floor level is. Okay, here. This gives you some indication as to the window height, and therefore the floor height is probably, I suspect, probably along here. This line just above this stick. And let's be honest, friends, if this was your final floor, you wouldn't bother with all the fancy brickwork too much lower down. You would cap the building and you would have filled it with dirt or a suitable material for a substructure. I think I see in here I think I see what looks like brickwork not bonding as well as the original. It does look pretty packed in there. Hard to prove, but yeah, I'm above the height of the train, and if this was a station building, then it would make sense to have had this building. There'd be no reason not to cut all this crap away here. This is all unnecessary. I would have built to I would have built to the platform height. That would have made sense, right? When you step off the building, out of the building, you're on the platform. Not, well, 10 foot above it. So, guys, we all know, and I'm only covering old ground, I know that. Okay, so train spotter's dream. So here you go. This is my hypothesis. Hope it's been worth the wait. We know that mud floods don't, or we believe that mud floods don't all occur simultaneously across the plain. We think that there are meta floods, mega floods. There are mega floods, meta floods, minor floods, and these floods, hey, that's the sort of thing I want to get. What do you think? I'm trying to get a truck, guys, and I'm not asking you for help because I already tried that, and I'm happy with all the help that I've had. People have been extremely kind, extremely generous. People I've never met, may never meet. But you know, I've had to humble myself and go out and ask for help. Even approach my family, who've been so reticent to help me since I jumped ship and started talking out of shop turn. Anyway, back to the flood. What if floods are happening on a frequent basis, regularly? And to cover this fact up, the system of control uses conflict law and other means to prevent the people from ever knowing what has gone on. So to this end, specifically London, I suggest to you that the Blitz in 1941, I should have checked that, 1942, I think it's 41. Sorry. The Blitz was a cover for a mud flood in the UK. World War II and World War I were both covers for European mud floods. They always talk about fighting in the mud and how much mud there was and all the mud, all the trench digging and so on. Yeah, well, that's what they would have done to get the train line back in action. They would have dug a trench through the mud. And for some of those who were involved in that kind of thing, it would have been, the explanation would have been given X, Y, and Z. Whatever, they wouldn't have to necessarily put two and two together, but I suspect there's a degree of collusion, a degree of using of foreigners. You mean like migrants, dare I say, prisoners of war, don't speak the language. Many of them can die if they're getting too wise as to what they're doing, or they're not really on board with it, and so on. But what if they actually did that? They bombed the city. Yes, I'm not saying planes didn't fly. It wasn't CGI back in those days, guys. Well, as far as we know. It was real planes. My old lady friend Shirley was herself bombed, or at least fired at. She always talks about that. So they vacated a lot of the cities. They cleared people out of the way so that you know, the true story of what was unfolding, how these buildings were en masse becoming destroyed. Because as a person who's had first-hand experience of destroying large things with big bombs in the war in Angola, 1987, famously on that Battle of the Lomba, the biggest tank battle in Africa since World War II. I was in the crew commander's seat, ordering the destruction of material and man. And you know, along the way we also fired at other things like buildings and so on, cars, and yeah, we could blow them up, yeah, we could cause some things, but they, you know, but they didn't kind of like, they didn't, you know, they were, these are, I mean, I'm talking about 90mm projectiles. I'm talking about big bombs, yeah, you know, high explosive bombs, you know, high explosive anti-tank bombs, all of this kind of stuff, modern, fairly modern weaponry. And we didn't cause the destruction that you see in the Blitz. These guys dropping their, actually I had, me and my squadron, we had 2 Russian MiG aircraft drop 4 500-kilo bombs on us with retarding bombs. They had these red and white parachutes on the back of them. That was on the 8th of October 1987, and amazingly only one of the bombs, 2 of the bombs actually landed meters from my vehicle. I managed to get into my vehicle in time, and the bombs were just downrange from me, so most of the force and the impact went towards my friend Wayne's vehicle and killed one of his crew and maimed another. And it did massive damage to that vehicle, but really it was more like it did puncture wounds. It wasn't like you see in the movies, guys. You know, all I'm saying is it's not like you see in the movies, and you can't fire a high explosive just into a thing and just have it all just crumble in the way that they depict that. Okay, I wouldn't say not, because it depends obviously on the size of the bombs and so on, but we're talking about 1940s aircraft that could, you know, only just about fly over the English Channel, and you know, wouldn't have been able to have a massive payload. I'm sure that the history buffs will tell me exactly how much that was and how destructive they were and so on. But and that, you know, St. Paul's rather cathedral just magically never really got you know, hit by any of these bombs and so on. I think the bombs came in. I think the bombs came in, but I don't think they are perhaps the primary cause of the damage. So I am suggesting that to take this hypothesis another stage further, then how is it relevant? Well, it may be relevant in terms of the current war that's being waged on us all. You know, it's gearing up for another round of intense conflict as a means of covering up another big shift on the in the realm, in the electromagnetic system we live in. So I offer that for your consideration, and yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, obviously if you don't buy into mud flood, then okay, but you don't need to like tell me I'm wrong for at least giving it some decent head time, because there are millions of these anomalies where most builders today would say no, it's folly to do all of that digging, especially if you want me to do it by hand and without any means of preventing water ingress through the brickwork over the years. And then obviously, yeah, there's apparently no electricity at that time, but we're going to unnecessarily create these basements. Oh look, I mean, I didn't plan this, but you know, I'm just going to cross the street here. Yeah, so you know, even these, okay, you could say, oh well, there's most of the window is available, you know, visible and so on. Funny little door down there, Ryan. Don't want to ingress too much on people's private property. Yeah, all all of this, it'd be like, okay, these had to be built at the same time in order to get them the same footing. You couldn't do the other one building one at a time. Okay, same with this. And then there's a different window configuration. There's a different, will be a different stair without even looking at it. Different stair configuration, and then of course the old little hidey hole under there, which sometimes has a tiny little door into the new basement once the front door to the property, I imagine. Although these could have arguably been once one property. You know, there's a lot of subdivision that goes on, and then down there is a door at again like a half level to account for this. So all of these houses would have been built with the same kind of mindset, the same time, in order to sort of pull this neat, let's all of us sink our properties X feet into the floor. Some of us will go, no, we're just going to block up whatever we had downstairs. But I can assure you this property has a downstairs with those windows that the apologists like to say were the only need for lighting. No electricity, just windows and candles. This is how you do it. Now, I would obviously build everything at the street level, and no one would notice the height variation because everyone would be lifted 6 feet or whatever. Malcolm Close here, I mean, you know, this is just, again, unnecessary, and then a lot of unnecessary little windy bits underneath here and down into there, and it doesn't make sense, eh? This doesn't make sense. But you know, isn't it fascinating that if this area had been evacuated, because it is one of those areas evacuated in the war, they tell people that there's been mass destruction, you can't go back to your home, and then when you do come back, if you do come back, you're told that, I don't know what you would have been told, or if you'd been allowed back here. It doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, my theory, I think, has some validity, although obviously there are a number of holes and things that people could argue against. But even I think in, you know, there were wars in Syria where they say there were these Aleppo and so on being destroyed. Was Aleppo a little regional flood moment? Yeah, was it? And are we going to see a worldwide event because they are preparing the entire world for some much larger agenda? The masks are just part of the social programming. Yes, it may make people sick, but I think primarily it's a social programming thing, and it's a certain sign that you are hook, line and sinker under someone else's control. Okay, so what's my prognosis, my friends? There may be like food shortages or limitations. There's certainly going to be restrictions. Tesco's have already announced that. There's more. The curve is not being flattened. The curve of control is going up, day by day, week by week. Don't expect the Fabians or the whoever it is that run this thing to take their foot off the pedal. They've got the bit firmly in the teeth, and they are cantering for the finish line. Now, this finish line may be some cataclysm, it may be whatever is coming, but in the meantime, my prognosis for those who want to dwell in the smart city in the future is that the complimentary COVID pass that you can get, the mask pass, the exemption that you can get from them, is currently something that you can issue to yourself. Oh yes, I have a breathing problem, so I need one. Wow. Again, it'd be like, this is such a mess up to this front door and then down there. Such a mess. Done by later people, these stairs, of course, not the original builders. You can see this all over the place if you've got the eyes to see. It's all of this. It's all over the place. And again, like why? You see that? You see how you get to 46A? Nice. Don't you think? If you build like this, if you could build such a nice house, you build that. Oh, it's only the servants in the cold, don't worry. Prognosis. Well, actually, the doctor at the moment doesn't need to give you a permission slip. But in the not too distant future, they will say there are these, and I saw the Sun newspaper doing this, the slimy worms. They did a video on a dude, and I think it might have been an act. I've seen a few of these that might be like an act in order to kind of put things in people's minds, whether it be the policeman's mind, the train driver's mind, the member of the public's mind. But I saw this dude getting harassed by the British Transport Police on the underground, not wearing a mask. And when people see that, oh, this is my point. The Sun newspaper calls the guy for not wearing a mask, he calls him a COVIDiot. They call him a COVIDiot, which is them using their own name against themselves, but in order to try and kind of make people who don't want to swallow the horse poop, they they're using that against that, making out that those who don't buy the mainstream babble are the idiots. Once again, those who think outside of the mainstream media's program are the conspirators, or the conspiratorials. The conspirators are, of course, the people perhaps who are engineering all of this. The Chatham House, or that one near Hyde Park. They say, good day. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Take care of your health, and you don't need to be a victim and put it on somebody else, the condition of your wellness. Okay. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to make non-mask wearers into, we already know this, you've probably already said this yourself, they're going to make non-mask wearers into the idiots, into the problem, but because we don't have a vaccine and we can't force them to wear a vaccine in their body, we are unable to force them necessarily to wear a mask because they have respiratory problems or some other thing. But because people have been abusing it, like that guy on the train, we're going to now have to implement, unfortunately, good news for the doctors, but we're going to have to implement that they sign you off as maskless or a free breather. As part of that, because obviously it's all, many disabilities are invisible, as they like to say, we're going to ask these people to wear an identity tag around their neck, or perhaps like a little 6-pointed star on their arm, so as that the members of the public and the officialdom can easily identify them and not give them too much hassle. Yeah, you know how that all works out. So that's what I think might be looming in the not too distant future. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that like carelessly. I think it's just going to be so much easier to acquiesce and fall in line and so on, as we've seen, and then so much harder to be one on the outside. Some folks will need to stay in the city. Some folks will need to leave the city. Only you can choose or find your path. But we see it coming, friends. We see it coming, and to continue to wait for the Savior, no matter what visage you apply to that title or that entity. While we wait for the Savior, we won't save ourselves. I've broken Savior down. I'm sure the wordsmiths would say it's not quite like this, but save I our. Save I and our humanity. Don't wait for the man in the robes and the dude with the funny hairstyle. Talking to dudes with funny hairstyle, this is something I had been on my mind for a while. I keep forgetting to mention it to you guys, ladies, good people, and I am more and more sure that that's our part of our purpose, is to be good people. Have fun, but be good people, loving people. I waved at a little child earlier on, and he was so lit up. This little black kid, brown skin or whatever, little boy, beautiful. Anyway, this is what I've been wanting to draw to your attention. Thanks to the guy who commented on my beard to mask connection. I think there might be something to that. But this one is interesting and curious, and well, maybe just another one of those bizarre coincidences in this 2020 freak show. But isn't it odd how the most powerful players at the moment, or some of the most powerful players, we could debate that, but Trump has this shock of white wizard hair. Boris Johnson has this shock of white wizard hair. So does that Anderson Cooper in America, that CIA dude who works for NBC, ABC, CDD, FG. He too is like this shock of white hair. But the one that really catches my attention is Julian. Our dear friend Julian, the truth speaker. The one who has laid out so much truth for the world to see. Except a whole lot of stuff that I really think that the world should be seeing. But let's overlook that minor issue in his CV. But Julian Assange, Assange, he is another wizardly kind of dude, right? He is a bit of a wizard. He is a bit strange. And I don't even know if the boy has been locked up for all these months and years, rather, in all of that. I think it's like the dude who managed to get, with his help, all the way to Russia on a few planes. Like they got on those planes on 9/11. What was his name again? Snowden. Chelsea Bradley, I should say, Manning. I'm not buying into that bullshit either. These people are setups, I think, because they give people a sense that the truth is coming out. And look, we've learned all about this Podesta files and porno files and child trafficking files and all this sort of thing, while we continue to file up on a Monday morning without child as we lead them into the increasingly prison-like junior schools and so forth. That's a form of child trafficking I hope never to be part of again. But it's a tough one, isn't it? Because anyway, I don't want to get off into the long grass on that. I just thought I'd walk around there to see if there was anything interesting from a flood perspective, but I didn't really caught my eye. Oh, that building obviously is rather attractive, isn't it, from a mud flood point of view. Those stairs are poorly made, later added to the original lovely home. That doesn't appear to be quite symmetrical. And I'm going to take you across this road quickly. Now I'm going to take you across this road to St. John's. St. John's Church, actually, Baptist, I suppose. That was the one I was indoctrinated with as a kid. I was even an altar boy. I carried the candles and the cross and all that sort of business. Helped the old vicar, nice man, and so on. I briefly dated his daughter when we were old enough. And you know, we were all misled. Now, yeah, you're building a church. Let's make it really difficult to get in. Let's not think about how ergonomic it would be just simply to have leveled this off and started with a door at ground level. We can have a quick wander around here. I'm sure you guys are getting tired of my... Well, if you're not, you're probably still listening. If you are, you're not. That's fine. But yeah, I'm walking up a slight ramp incline. I'm now almost at window level to... It's interesting, isn't it? Because the floor level is that, which comes through to here, which is apparently a window level, which is an odd thing to do, isn't it? To put your windows at the floor. This is ostensibly this is the floor here, and there's a window ledge right above it. So whatever excuse you find, send it to the Rose. Memorial Garden, maybe restricted access around here. Some of the interesting bits. The ground is all undulating and uneven and rising up and down. Let's see. It's locked. Oh, I think I might go around the other side. Check that out. Did I finish talking about the prospects for life inside? Post 2021 or over the next few years. I think it's going to become increasingly hard to coexist if you know that what you're doing is wrong. Wrong for you, wrong for the children, and wrong for your loved ones. That's an odd hole. I don't seem to be able to get around there. That's a shame. Yeah, it's pretty odd back here. Up the ramp. Such a good idea. Sometimes the original builders didn't consider doing this themselves when they created this rather steep approach. Let's see, is it open? These places are typically not open anymore. Everyone is welcome. Please be a slave. Yeah. I used to love walking into these old churches back in the old normal. It's going to go back round again because I couldn't get around the other side, and I'll give you just a quick another look. Alright, just another quick look at this anomalous door. Again, why would you build such a beautiful door in the ground and then constantly have to scoop the crap out of it? Anyway, as my friend Ian once told me, this is merely entertainment. So I don't want to keep you too long with this folly, although obviously there might well be interesting clues for us if there is a connection between the conflicts that we've been made to fight in the world and events like local cataclysms, local deluges. No, the more pressing issue is, of course, you know, your self-preparation, soul preparation for what must be coming. Listen. So, yeah, but to the more pressing issue, and I'm really enjoying this conversation with you. I feel like I want to do some lives sometime, but it's been so long since my last live, I can't even tell you when. Maybe Leaden Hall, I don't know. But I guess the time is coming, and my time to speak and do my thing is now and coming and what have you. And I do truly think that having been through all of these things, physical, real war, been through the war in the streets of activism, trying to convince people of the deceptions. Hold on. Yeah, in memory of the freemen and apprentices, the Waterman's Company who made the supreme sacrifice in the Great War. This asylum was restored in 1920 by the subscriptions of members and friends, members of whatever. Greater love hath no man that a man lay down his life for his friends. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down. Well, I am a veteran of real conflict. I've had friends, soldiers, die in my hands. So I know all about how we were trained to believe that. Greater love hath no man. And that may be true, but it's not true in the sense of war, of conflict, of guns, bombs, machetes. No. No, it's that he would lay out his truth. That he would honor the truth at the expense of his very life, at the expense of his friendships. What friend would I be if I was to pretend to you that everything was okay and that we should just go along and now hate the Chinese or whoever? It was the Muslims last couple of decades. Now it'll come up to be the Wuhanians. I think that tech company is asking the most important question. Who are we? Who are we, and why do we think that it's an honorable thing to lay down your life for your friend who wants to go and kill other people anyway? No, he doesn't want to, but he's being programmed to. Anyway, as I said, I'm enjoying this conversation, a little bit of free hit time. It's yeah, as I say, it's going the way that you would expect it to go if you wanted to push people to the extremes of social engineering, as people are saying. But it's an exciting time too. It's really exciting. Yeah, there's stuff coming down the pipeline. The clock upstairs is ticking away and vibrations are rising. Now, you dial out of the fear, you dial out of the low vibe, the anger, the wanting to fuck this system, to mess the system up. Be in the world, not of it, and find your true path. And if that means that you can get yourself spare yourself. Oh man, these masks, you can see them going in and out and in and out. It's like, what are you thinking? Hey, you can spare yourself this. You can spare yourself this. But you have to let go of those things. Those fancy cars. Oh, you don't have to let go of fancy cars, that's not true. I think it's more a case of letting go of the things that are holding you back from getting away, from shutting the door on this insanity. Familiar face. As I say, guys, it doesn't really matter, other than we might all be in line for this deluge. I'm not saying we're not going to survive it. I'm just saying it's going to mean that's the kind of thing I'm hoping to get. And this is Navara. Yeah, that'll be nice, mate. Fair dinkum. Yeah. Just get out the wind. it really reinforces the idea that we are all heading for a cliff edge, a fall. When the sky falls, there'll be thunder. I've never really listened to the words, so but I know it's a nice song. Anyway, I won't butcher it. Yeah, a little was here only a few years ago. Now they're gone. I mean, they were only in 5 years ago. I'm not changing. Yeah, so I think you've got to. My heart is saying, get the heck out. And you know what? I want you to take courage from what I'm saying to you. Is that I have been on the sofa. You know, yeah, I was a kind of regular dude. Fit. Went to the gym, all of that sort of stuff, but I was in the office most of the time, pushing paper around and whatever, all that crap. And that's pointless crap. Yeah, I was in social care for some of the time, helping the service I ran was responsible for helping disabled people and stuff like that. But I didn't know the people, they weren't my community, they were just service users at the end of the line, as it were. Whereas a true community would be one in which those who needed support were getting support from within the community, and those who could provide support, and those who were doing other things, growing the food and rearing the children, those people would be cherished and held up and given their rightful place in a balanced community where rule of law, the rule of nature, natural law was the primary. There you go. See that? Well, that's a bit new. I can't imagine getting something that new. Pointless. Anyway, I am rambling a bit now, and I'm conscious that your time is as precious as mine. Please use it wisely. Then try and stop fighting the family, stop fighting the loved ones about the stuff they can't and won't see, may never see. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. They may never see this, and yeah, Rolling Stones bass guitarist Bill Wyman lived in Penge and was indoctrinated at Beckenham and Penge Grammar School. Seriously, we're coming to the end of the line. Oh man, that sounds really dramatic, but if this isn't dramatic, then I don't know what is. These white-haired wizards playing with people's minds, disempowering them, some in fear, some in hope. The Saviour is near. The Saviour will never come until you take those steps to your liberation. Be in the resistance if you must. It will exhaust us all. It's designed that way. And if it's not already controlled, then it will be. they can't control us. We're scattered around the mountains, scattered in the countryside, taking care of ourselves, developing small communities. The conscious resistance over in America, they've started these freedom cells. Martin Leaker, if those mud guys are still listening, he's obviously really working hard on trying to pull something together himself, and I've spoken about a bit about what I'm hoping to achieve. The other Martin, well, there's many Martins, but Martin Kenny. So yeah, you know, I think there are definitely ways, and you know, if you're in a position to divest so much of what you have in this reality and not be dependent on it, then yes, you know, you can focus your energy and intention on something else. Because I think for a lot of us, you know, myself included, over the time I've been struggling to let go of the possibility that we can have old normal back. But we can't, and we got to let it go. And those, I think, who are the ones clinging to the Titanic as she goes down will be the ones that find it hardest to get aboard a lifeboat after she sinks. Over the road, more curiosities of construction. Some social distancing going on there. That woman really got a little bit tongue-tied. Oh, that's a nice Ranger. Well out of my league, but still nice to look at. I am the first time in life actually looking for, you know, a truck and trying to find a way. So I've been trying to draw in some funds and finance. I think my help Jeff from Uni Days, he very kindly offered to help me out with some of the money I need. So we'll see. But don't hang on too long, I think. You know, even if the ship never sinks, it'll be like, you know, have you seen the new masks for 2021? It looks like a spacesuit. Okay, I'm being flippant, but why not? Why not? Why not get to that point? Haven't you seen those kind of dystopian, futuristic movies where they got people wearing breathing apparatus, like a, you know, like a mustard gas or a tear gas kind of gas mask? That's coming. Why not? Why not? This little visor that people wear, that might soon become a full head helmet with handy straw for breathing. No, that wouldn't help, would it? Handy straw for drinking. You can like unplug a little straw or something. You never have to take the helmet off. Huh. They used to depict those aliens in the Simpsons movie with like little glass helmets on. Maybe that's the virus. They'll be wearing little glass helmets. Well, if you go along with it. And if you tolerate this, well, we already have, and we and our children are in the firing line. Step back, reevaluate, and find your way out. Good luck. But if you can't get out, really, I'm not trying to instill any kind of fear. It's going to be ugly, perhaps. It's going to be concessions. Things that, you know, like even walking down in the shop without a mask on, you know, you're eyeing people up. There are going to be discomfitures, but it's not the end of the game. And I really do not want to set any disheart in your mind. So I think that you are divine, that this is your journey, and if the only way for you right now is to be in the situation you're in, okay, but do what you can to change that such that it reduces and minimizes, mitigates the discomforture. And then all the time, because I think this is what it does, all the discomfort, it's like, oh, I'm talking about it, I'm moaning about it, I'm fretting about it, I'm sweating about it. This will be another one, I'm sure. Anyway, on new building, using the old footings that where they dug up. I'm sure that the intention for all of these things, is to keep you low vibe. Why low vibe? Because you won't do the soul work, spirit work, or the inner work. Just, I don't want to be too like zen-y or new age, I don't think, or religious at all, but I do think that it's like an honest purging towards the loving you. See, that's always going to make your day, isn't it? My heart would always sink when I get one of those, because it's like half a day's pay, maybe more. I don't pay them anymore, but when I do. I used to go to that barber a long time ago. He has aged. Long time ago. 20 years ago. Our daughter was born while we were straight just up there. Blanford Road. Guys, I think what I'm saying kind of matters, It matters that actually it doesn't really matter where you are so much physically, it matters where you are spiritually. And yes, it might be easier to remove yourself from this. But it's not possible for all of us at this point in time, or most of us at this point in time, to achieve what some folks have already achieved. But in terms of the soul journey, well, I think you don't have to be in the mountains to achieve that. I mean, the soul journey is one that goes on inside, whether you're in a prison cell, a physical prison cell, or this pseudo-freedom prison cell that we're in. I know this has gone on a little bit long, but I just had a thought that I'd been chewing over, that if I had got an invitation to speak at Trafalgar Square, not that I think for a second that I necessarily have earned that, but I would say to people, there's two, right, when you sort of dial back outside of all of this stuff, there's a couple of major dialectics that people are being caught up in. And this thing is that what they're trying to do, they tell us they're trying to do, is to harmonize or homogenize all the nations of the world into a united nation. So there's a lot of this. I actually did a video a year or so ago, walking down this very street, looking at this building, and particularly this one here, because it's beautiful. And of course it's got these downstairs windows and stairs and doorways that really beg a belief, like that window with the bars. Like, of course you have to put bars, because people are going to put their shoe through it if you're not careful. It's a beautiful old building, isn't it? Anyway, I think this big dialectic, I see people still being caught up in they're trying to create this one world order where there's one religion and one sort of one primary control system, and it may already be that, but below that, of course, you've got the EU or these other blocks like the African Union. And then below that, of course, we've got the traditional nation or country, and people are waving their country flag, forgetting that these borders, these country names were given by the very same system that is now saying, oh no, we want you to fight for your old flag or to acquiesce to this new one, when neither of those are the right solution, really, because again, you are not England, you are not America or Idaho, New York, Georgia, are places I've visited. You're not Portugal, you're not Spain, you're not South Africa, you're not the country, you're the nation. I think I break this word down into nature ion. Where you stand is your nation. It's the nature that you stand on. And we give it away. You know, we say, okay, you draw this map and you give me a flag and you national anthem me and so on, and then tell me I can and can't move between one bit of nature and another bit of nature. Well, that's all a perversion of natural law. And it's the same, again, the same dialectic of, you know, you've created, you know, two sides, the nation and the supranation, even in the EU, that all that bullshit for years, and it's still now it's probably going to be no deal or whatever. Don't read it, but can't miss the odd headline. You know, the whole institution of creating nations. Look, again, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because they had to, I think much later on, put this annex on the left here. But down here, this is a typical thing. They'll say, oh no, this is just the coal bunker down here. But, you know, they use different sorts of solutions for that little problem. Sometimes it's just a dugout and you'll see the window. They've obviously gone for the full metal jacket in this case, as you can see. But there'll be a basement there, whether it's in use or not. So yeah, I'll wrap it up, guys. Just saying, you know, I think we want to be so careful where we're putting our energy, you know, because pretty much everything you that's out here, other than nature herself, is a part of the deception. It's a part of the control. And you know, we're all equal. We should not be constraining one another. Yes, they've created that situation where people are very poor in some parts of the war-torn world, and they come seeking opportunity, and sometimes bring with them behaviors or traits that are deplorable, because they themselves come from deplorable conditions, and they simply bring that infected mind state with them, causing loads of social upheaval. But, you know, this is just to get us to hate our brother and so on. So, don't play in their teams, don't bat for their side, and things that they've given you are theirs, not yours, not ours. Save my hour. Nature I stand on. Nature is hearing me blow, and she's blown back. Guys, I'm gonna go. I wish you really well. Hope to speak soon.